Good morning, everyone. I'm just having a cruisy Saturday morning or lunchtime now at home with my girls, and I thought I'd just jump on here for 5 minutes and just have a chat with you guys. Share a little bit more about my story, my background, and what led me to wanting to live a lifestyle utilizing natural health and having a focus on feeling good as often as I can. So I grew up in a very medical family. My mum was a nurse, my grandma had nursing experience as well, and so the model of healthcare that I learned was very much the Western medical system. And now I'm not against the Western medical system anymore. I went through a phase where I definitely really rejected it and my pendulum swung totally in the other way. But yeah, for many years, that's how I was raised. And I guess what I see, by the time I was a teenager, I was in that normal cycle of not liking my body. I started dieting really young, and from there I actually fell into an eating disorder. So when I was 19, I developed bulimia, and I suffered with bulimia until I was 23, almost 24 by the time I started healing from that. So for quite a few years and quite a few key years, I was in a real period of self-loathing. And, you know, I was really into the gym and exercising, and on the outside, it looked like I was a really health conscious person. And I guess I was interested in doing things that were going to make me look more attractive or look thinner. But I didn't have a focus on health because I didn't know that it was important. And I'm talking about health on the inside. I didn't know that it was important. I hadn't seen the consequences of it yet. And to me, it was what was on the outside was most important. As you know, young 20s, superficial and suffering with an eating disorder, I was obviously very image focused. My self-esteem was super low. I was in an emotionally abusive relationship at the time, and you know, I was suffering from anxiety, I was suffering from depression, and just generally not loving life, and definitely not getting the most out of life, and feeling like I hated myself most of the time. And I stumbled upon yoga, and that was kind of my segue into starting to discover natural health, self-care, self-love, all these buzzwords that sound really cool, but for me they were eventually what led me to saving my life and being able to overcome bulimia. So I found yoga and I went vegan. I'm no longer vegan. And I became very extreme in the world of natural health. My poor friends and family got the full kind of brunt of my judgment of their meat eating toxic ways. And yeah, I thought that I was tapping into a world of self-love. I was using all organic, I was doing all the right things on the outside, but I didn't feel any happier on the inside. I had stopped throwing up. I was getting some outside support, and just, I guess, through my own internal shifts, I was able to overcome bulimia, but I guess I just channeled it into another way of controlling food, which was being very controlled with food, being a very strict vegan. So I still felt like I had that control over food, and I was still able to control my weight, so to speak, through quite extreme dieting. But internally, I still felt very lost. I still felt very empty. I knew that I still had a long way to go, but I didn't understand because I thought I was doing all the right things. And so after a bit of that journey, I kind of, I felt more unhealthy than ever. I was like, I'm doing all the right things and I'm still depressed. I'm doing all the right things and I still have acne. I'm doing all the right things and I still hate myself. Like, this is just crap. Like, maybe there's just no hope for me. And so my pendulum swung back the other way, as it does when we become very extreme. It's only a matter of time before the pendulum swings the other way. And I shunned all things health, and I went back to eating whatever I want. And through that process, I discovered something called intuitive eating, which I still really live by and love now, and just listening to my body. And in the time when I was a vegan and doing all the right things, I kept looking outside myself to other people to be the expert for me. I went to healers, and I went to naturopaths, and I went to kinesiologists, and I went to just person after person after person, looking for them to heal me, looking for them to tell me the things that I needed to do to be happy. And none of them could. I mean, they all told me that they could, but ultimately I would do what they would say, and I would, maybe a few symptoms would clear up, but I never found that inner peace. And it wasn't until I swung the other way and I started just being like, fuck it, excuse my French. I'm just gonna do whatever I want, because I'm healthy, I'm unhealthy, and it makes no difference. I'm depressed and I don't feel good about myself no matter what I do, so I might as well just do whatever feels good. And in that came a shift. In that I'm just going to do whatever feels good came a sense of empowerment that I've never experienced in my almost 30 years prior. It came a permission to start listening to me, to start being my own healer, so to speak, to start being my own authority. And I started seeing that this is where I'd been trying to get to my whole life up until this point. I had been looking outside of myself when all I needed to do was start looking within. And this is what I'm so passionate about today. And it's not necessarily that everything that you use is toxin free, although I am passionate about that because I do know the health implications, and I do know that when you feel good about yourself, you treat yourself well. And that includes taking care of yourself. That includes not including things in your life that aren't good for your health, because we wouldn't include those things in our children's life because we love them. And when we love ourselves, we wouldn't include those things in our life either. That's a little bit of a segue, but basically when I started giving myself permission, I started seeing that was the key. Coming back to me, coming back to my own inner voice. And there's a quote that I love, and it's, I choose to listen to my inner voice and not the random opinion of others. And that's what I try and live by every day. And it's the most sense of peace and the most sense of self-love that I've ever felt. And it's something that grows every day. The more that I take care of me, the more that I experience the beauty in the world. I haven't felt depression in the sense of the word in a really long time, and I've had heavy moments. Like, I'm a single mum with 2 young girls who have different dads. Like, that wasn't a carefree ride. I've been through stuff, but I've been able to view it in a positive way, and in a way that only comes from owning your own power. And so that's what this is about for me. It's about giving you guys the tools that I use every day to feel empowered to be my own expert, to feel empowered to listen to my inner voice, to feel empowered to not be looking to other people to be the expert for me. And that's not to say to shun medical advice, or, if you're on medication, to stop taking it, or, anything crazy like that. Like, there is a time and there is a place for outside help, for sure. But for the day-to-day health and happiness of yourself, I am such a believer that no one outside you can give you that. No one can. You have to find it within. And the more that you love yourself, the more that you want to take care of yourself. And the more that you take care of yourself, the more that you start to have the energy and have the energy to be able to enjoy life. And I guess the more that you have that positive outlook, to be able to have gratitude and to be able to actually notice all the amazing things that you already do have, to have the self-love, self-esteem and confidence to be able to go for it, whatever it is that your dreams are. It can't come from anyone but you, and no one else is going to do this for you. No one is going to do this this journey. into health and into loving yourself. No one can do it for you. It's something that we all have to do for ourselves. Yeah, so that's my story. That's why I feel so passionate about empowering people to be their own expert. And that's why I think something like doTERRA is such a great tool, because you're not coming to me saying, I'm not your expert. I'm not your expert. You're your expert. And you just have to tap into that and realize that. It's like, if my daughter comes to me every time she needs a glass of water, she's relying on me to take care of her. Whereas if I teach her how to use a water bottle, then she's empowered to go and drink from that water bottle whenever she feels that she wants to. And that's the difference, that's the shift. And that's why I love teaching people about doTERRA and essential oils, because then they're their own expert. They're the expert for them, they're the expert for their family, they're empowered. And they don't need anyone outside to fix them. In day-to-day health, happiness, mood support, mindset, they're empowered to do it for themselves. And if there's one thing we know, it's that our current healthcare system is failing in a lot of ways. It is. And that's not to put a negative spin on life, but it's just the truth. For chronic, long-term things, we know that prevention and natural health and taking care of yourself is where it's at. We know it's about lifestyle. And for, acute things and, medical system, that's when it's invaluable. So there's a time and place for both. I've just heard my little girl wake up, so I'm going to jump off here now. That's all I wanted to cover really anyway. Now I'm just rambling. But yeah, so that's my story. Maybe that resonates with you. And for those that are meant to connect with, it will resonate with you. So know that you can feel empowered. You can feel differently than how you feel now, if you're feeling the way that I felt a few years ago. And the answers are in you. And there are tools that will support you to trust in that, to strengthen that intuition muscle and that confidence in yourself. Okay guys, I'll connect with you again later on today.